folks remain muted so that we don't have feedback. Certainly, if you have a question, you can put it in the chat or use the hand raised feature. That is always more than welcome. But I will be monitoring that muting just so that we don't have any feedback during presentation. And as Ryan shared, he's going to be speaking tonight about AI tips for teachers. So if you feel so inclined to play around with that on your side while he's presenting, please feel free. But also, as he said, it's not required. I will send out the recording as well as Ryan's slide deck so that you have access to all of the resources and links and materials after the session, probably tomorrow morning. All right. Thank you, Ryan.
No problem. So you should see like a weird background, okay, right now. And now you should see my presentation right now. It's coming. There we go. Uh, just to let you know, I did do a QR code if you want notes and stuff like that, if it's helpful. And I did test it out, it worked. So you can take your phone out if you want to, and just scan the QR code. So this way, if you want to access, um, I I kind of refreshed this presentation a little bit from what I did at UMBC for an AI conference in education. So my name is Ryan Schaff. I'm a professor, I'm a writer, I'm a future focused educator. And I actually now am the head of a graduate certificate program called Learn AI, which is a graduate certificate. So after you get your your degree, which is coming around, if you want to go right and get a graduate certificate in AI and education, you're more than welcome to come back and join us. It is 4 courses, 12 credits, and you get your graduate certificate. It's pretty cool, and it's done within a year. It's online, it's asynchronous, and it's growing. It's growing rather steadily. I started off with 30 last semester. Now I'm a little shy of 60, I think, right now, and I'm opening up to other counties in the area. So, anyway, if you're interested, you're more than welcome to ask me afterwards, or you can also ask Molly. She can get you in contact with me as well. Okay, so although we are teaching and leading during challenging times, the future of our profession has never been brighter. Um, let's go ahead and do a warm up and activate our brains and AI companions. So here are two fun prompts to test out for fun, and see how AI views you. So the first one is called a custom CIA prompt. It's one that really kind of does a little bit of internet scrubbing and tries and comes up and tries to create a little bit of a dossier of you, and it treats you kind of like a threat. It's just for joking, but if that one's kind of like putting up a red flag for you, I created a much friendlier version, and that's the Mythbusters Classroom Edition prompt. So there are two prompts right there, and in a moment, I can copy and paste you if I can copy and paste it if it's too much content to just start typing in. But you can take Gemini, you could take ChatGPT, Claude, any of the ones that you might have access to, and you can go ahead, type it in, see what it does for you.
Ryan, will you put those in the chat for us,
Yeah,
please?
I'm going to. I'm going to
Thanks.
do one at a time because of
Okay.
the length. So just give me a second. So let me hit the escape button.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry. There we go. I'll go right back to it. So in the first one, if you want to try the CIA one, which is actually it is pretty cool. So the first one will be the CIA one. Uh, sorry. Okay, copy and let's put that into. Stop sharing real quick. Okay, so here's the CIA one. Okay, so there's the CIA one. Should have gone in. First one's too chilling, no problem. Okay, well, let me give you the second one, which is the Mythbusters. It's a little friendlier, and again, this I've tried the CIA one myself, and I haven't had the CIA come and bust my door down. So there's the CIA one. I'm sorry, there's the Mythbusters one as well. So I'm going to give you like 2 or 3 minutes just to try them for fun. And you don't have to share, you don't have to copy and paste anything into the chat box. I just want you to take a look at it and just be inspired by what comes up. If you do the first one, just, kind of like I can pretty much tell because your mouth will probably be open a little bit of how accurate it is. The second one, it'll probably be more fun. It'll be like, oh, this is really fun, something that I might use in education in the future. So I'll give you about 2 more minutes. As you go through here, if you're willing to go into the chat box and just share your reactions, you don't have to, again, share any personal data. You can always share your reactions to what you found and what you read from the prompt and its output. Shobha said, very quick response. Yeah, it's um, you're lucky. Mine has been very slow today. I was still productive though. Fractions for fifth grade, very cool. So the second prompt, I'm glad it's new. I felt a little awkward about just always leading with the CIA prompt only, just in case people want to steer away from there. Rachel said the second prompt was super helpful and definitely on grade level for my search. Gave me feasible activities. Cool. Shiva said she doesn't. I did not think this way. Good to know. Oh, maybe you're thinking about the just. Okay. Oh, I'm glad I'm low risk. Yeah, yeah, but it was able to really even talk about, I'm not very political at all, but it actually leaned into like it was pretty good about like telling like what my like political like leanings would be and my personality. And it gave me like a medium risk because it knows I'm an educator and professor, so of course, I can shape the minds of the future. So, okay. So as you keep on, as you explore that, you're more than welcome to keep that open and try your own. In a little while, I'll let you do more hands-on, brains-on with it. So keep it because it's really formulaic, and I'll show you the formula in which um, in which you can use to create better outputs for your task. So let me go ahead and start sharing my screen again and go back into my presentation again. Okay, let me hit the play button here. There we go. So it's fun. So I'm sorry, in 2019, no, in 2019, so my colleague Ian Jukes and we wrote a book called A Brief History of the Future of Education. So that was, again, a little over 5 years ago. In it, we explored how to teach the digital generations. We shared the trajectories of education and how the role of educators would change in the future. Now, I'm not a soothsayer. I don't have a crystal ball. I do not claim to see the future. But despite, a global pandemic, a changing political landscape, and the rise of AI, the book's trajectories still hold true. One of the trajectories we shared was that learning will be assisted by AI, thinking machines, smart agents, and big data. As our learners travel through their educational journeys, They'll encounter many educators, but not all of them will be human. For some, this sounds like science fiction, but for today's learners, born into a world of smart devices and digital assistants, it's just reality. The idea of AI powered teaching tools doesn't intimidate them. In fact, they're already living with it. But as educators, we struggle to understand the role of technologies like AI in the learning space. Do we forbid it? Do we turn a blind eye to it? Do we pray it is just a fad that will disappear like the Nokia phone or Blockbuster videos? When schools had to produce individuals who would grow up to become routine cognitive workers needed for the 20th century economy, this system worked exceptionally well. This model taught students to obey the rules, listen closely, follow directions, never question authority, be on time, meet deadlines, complete work, answer questions when called upon, and only speak when spoken to. However, the old realities of education will no longer serve the digital generations. Our traditional ways of teaching and learning just won't do in this age. So I've pulled some funny quotes that I have been that they've been debunked as satire, satirical. However, they do kind of demonstrate a profound mindset present in education today. I want you just to take a moment, and I'd like you to share your reactions in the chat. What type of mindset do these quotes poke fun at? So I'll give you a moment to think about it and go ahead into the chat box and give me what your reaction is. And what type of mindset is it poking fun at? Oh, hey, go back up there.
Is it poking fun at basically the way that students have been learning to write without throughout the years?
Uh, no, not necessarily. It's not poking fun at students and their writing. It's although I do see the theme of you're talking about. So it's definitely
Is
not aimed at the teachers. I'm sorry, it's not aimed at the students.
is it poking fun at the way we talk about the way the world evolves and saying like, oh, they depend too much on paper, but that would be funny to hear today since now we're like kids today don't know how to write on paper.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's in fact and the chat box is filling up with just great like little things, just things like stuck in the past mindset, not being willing to adapt and change the way students will be learning, new t education seeing new technologies as a threat, and again it's not necessarily poking fun at people using new technology or people not using technology. It's just the reaction to it. Yeah, it can be. Eileen said poking fun at those who are afraid of innovation and change, poking fun at depending on phones now. Um, it it definitely could be that way with phones, but they are starting to find a little bit of evidence that doing these cell phone bans is actually helping students with their focus. But I'm interested to see the long-term game. Yeah, not being flexible with new technologies and approaches. Funny how we are circling back. Paper writing is coming back to some extent, Amy, but it's always, and I don't, it's definitely people still, especially as you get older, they still prefer the way that they kind of grew up learning. It's very hard to break like a mindset. But these are excellent comments. Thank you very much. Yep. An article was just released about this. It always comes, and you'll discover that education is cyclical. It's constantly going around and around, and it always comes back to certain things. I will say that technology definitely got a black eye during the pandemic because everybody created this mindset that it was technology was somehow an evil, that online learning and pandemic learning was awful and terrible. Everybody and in fact online learning kind of got a black eye. The problem is that what we experienced during the pandemic wasn't true online learning. It's what's called triaged learning. It was learning that had to kind of open up within 2 or 3 weeks of notice. There was no time to adapt and change. We're used to being brick and mortar, and now, so technology really took a beating that, they think it's too much. We have to try and find a balance. And this is again with AI, it's also now we're all thinking, oh, it's all in on AI. It's that really should be not the case. It really should be about the human in the loop. Yep, we have Steph said we have students depending on AI and makes it hard to know are they learning or just copying and pasting. That's correct. And the way to resolve that is to think about how to rethink how we give assignments, assessment, how we provide learning, and looking at the relationship of AI. A lot of people want to ban things. What happens when you ban things? A lot of times students want to use them, just like the pen, just like the quills, just like the pencil from. And again, this was fun for quotes. But it did get you talking. And I do appreciate that. So let me go ahead and give you a term of what this represents. So this fixed and rigid mindset is called tatwadi. That's the way we've always done it. A phrase more dangerous than any obstacle. You see, specifications and bureaucracies and institutions and systems have a natural tendency to solidify in the way they do things. Tatwadi keeps classrooms locked in the past. It resists innovation, dismisses creativity, and clings to comfort. It prefers the path of least resistance. We assume limitations exist, even when they don't. Technology is growing exponentially, and tomorrow's tools will dwarf today's in power and possibility. We must look ahead, not to the next semester or quarter, but to when our kindergartners graduate. What kind of digital learning partner will they rely on? And how do we prepare for them now? We now have AI systems that learn from experience. Imagine a student says, find volcanic eruptions that lasted over a week in the Pacific Rim since 2000. This smart assistant doesn't just search, it understands. It learns how students ask, refines its results, and builds knowledge with every interaction. It's not just a search engine, it's a research assistant tailored to each learner. Right now, students spend more time hunting for information than analyzing it. AI can change that. Imagine students showing up with insights instead of just Google results, ready to debate, reflect, and create. These tools handle the data deluge, so educators can finally focus on what matters most, which is critical thinking, synthesis, and creativity. Some fear AI might replace teachers, but here's the truth. AI won't replace us. It will refocus us. When smart tools take over the routine tasks, such as spelling drills and timetables and other repetitive tasks, we free up precious time and energy. Imagine this, instead of instructional scopes and sequences bogged down by low-level cognitive work, we unlock space and time for what matters most. We get to coach our learners in the modern learning skills that will help them thrive and stay relevant in the age of AI and disruptive innovation. We get to focus on the big skills, the communication skills, creativity, problem solving, critical thinking, curiosity, and global citizenship. This is the shift. This is the opportunity it can handle right now. It can happen right now. As educators, we're not being replaced, we're being redeployed to where we've always been needed most, guiding learners on the path to becoming independent, inspired thinkers and doers. So our time tonight is a bit short, so I'm going to cut to the chase. I have broken down ideas to assist educators in leveraging ethical AI use for different purposes across different learning contexts. I have broken it down into three categories: productivity, practice, and professional growth. The strategies are malleable, adaptable, and easily made relevant to your particular professional situation. And I promise there will be some hands-on, brains-on activities along the way. I just have to stop and laugh for a second. My dog, my 10-year-old dog is now snoring behind me, and he's pretty loud. It's pretty hysterical. So first, hold on, I gotta wake him up. Bert, stop it. Bert, stop. Bert, come on. You gotta stop, buddy. You're snoring worse than me. Okay. First up is productivity. For productivity, AI tools such as ChatGPT and Gemini and Cloud and all those other ones, and there's another ones that are coming out on the market for schools like Brisk AI, are great at completing redundant or low-level tasks to allow educators more time to focus on what is important. Okay. Um, so here's a couple examples that I'm just going to share with you right now that you could use AI for to assist you. Hold on one second, sorry. Okay, so first you could upload a class list and create a seating chart. Use first names and initials to respect student privacy. So don't give them first and last names. But that's really helpful because if you're doing a task or an activity and you want to kind of randomize it, or if you want to create patterns like this student can't sit next to this student, or this person can't sit to this, this person works really well with this learning partner, or these two are just they talk too much. Let's separate them. You could create one that would be helpful. I used to do sitting chart changes like once a semester or once a quarter. So this way the students were able to just change their learning partners, change their tables, change the dynamics of the classroom. And it was helpful. ChatGPT, other places, you don't even have to have a paid account. We'll do that for you. It's helpful. Or if you want any types of lists, you can really do that. Um, Generating differentiated materials in seconds. So quickly create tiered versions of reading passages or questions for varied learner levels. So you could take a passage that you found in a textbook or something like that and have it rewrite that text. If you have a student that might be multilingual learner, or you have a student that's in special education, or you have a student that would be you would consider gifted and talented, they could rewrite that. You could create the same reading passage for three different reading levels in a matter of 30 seconds. You could come up with various questions. You could produce formative assessments aligned to learning objectives or standards. For instance, create a five-question exit ticket on the causes of the American Revolution, including one open-ended question. It can create it that quickly. Let me give you an example of how sophisticated it is. Last night, I wanted to do a hands-on, brains-on activity with my graduate level students learning with technology. I wanted it to start with theory and go to classroom practices. So I had it develop a cool card sorting game. All I had to do is create it, print it, and draft it out and read it and make sure that it didn't have any hallucinations or weirdness going on. And it created and drafted a wonderful puzzle activity. It created deep discussions. It provided also an area to where they got to debate if they because there were a couple that weren't clear, concrete answers. They were able to kind of figure it was able they were able to get into it. There was also multiple parts in case time was in case there was extra time, it gave me other options to go into. So it really has become a great teaching assistant to amplify my teaching ability. Um, and again, you can adapt text, you can create face-to-face hands-on activities easily. You can create concise notes or summaries of a lesson for a student that might be absent or they have a trip or something like that. That's very easy to do. You can simplify, scaffold, or translate reading passages, make it accessible. And also, you could do it to create some of your stuff like word walls and vocabulary lists. So there's a lot of ways that you can use it for productivity. Here's one that is really helpful is I know I'm doing this a lot, and as you know, once you become, really, you have a job, a lot of times you're going to end up having to write letters. This is one that I do quite honestly a lot, and that is writing recommendation letters, whether for whether for scholarships or for admittance to colleges, or if they're going into a PhD program. And what I do is I say, hey, can you give me your resume? And what I'll do is I'll just go in, write a quick prompt, and say, create a stellar recommendation letter, and it'll create an awesome recommendation letter in a matter of 15 seconds when it would probably take me an hour. And then I go in, and the thing is I'm not just going to sit there and say, oh, copy paste it, run on the paper. I'm going to go through, edit. It's drafting it for me. That's the magical thing about this is that it believes in what's called the iterative process, and that is you do it through multiple cycles until you kind of get it right. And here's a prompt that I was able to generate for a student in one of my programs that I taught, and it created an awesome letter that I verified as being accurate, and then I sent it away. So I wouldn't consider this cognitive offloading because I read their CV, I knew the person. It just ended up generating it, and then I was able to swoop in and make it my own. And again, this is not instructional. It's meant to help a student, and I was able to take back some of my time. How about that dreaded email that you kind of sometimes work at, especially as an educator? You might have a parent complaint. You might have to send something to the principal. You may need some sort of partner just to read it over. The nice thing is that a lot of times you can program your LLM to provide some help with really crafting the perfect email. It can take some of the anger out of your email. It could make it more objective. It can use a tone or glacial like response that'll actually help you quite a bit. It really does help with email. I could probably count like six or eight. Every semester I have to create a massive email that goes out to um, to the community of associate faculty members. What I end up doing is a lot of times I'll take all of my notes that are like 2 or 3 pages of just junk. I ask it, take all this content that I wrote, and I want you to make it glacial. I want you to have a good tone and a good flow. So this way, my associate faculty members understand it, and they have a checklist and stuff that it brings that and organizes it and frames it nicely. And here's the thing, I wrote it. I wrote part of it. It just organized it for me. And that's a way to positively help with doing that. Let's see, I heard we shouldn't put student names and details in the AI. Megan, that's correct. So what I end up doing is for the letter of recommendation, I take the student's name out of it. They give you a PDF, you can just cut it out or do something like that. It's giving a lot of information. You could also cut out the address and stuff like that. So this way, instead, you could just have it as blanks or little X's, like, leave a little space where the name would be, and I could go in and customize it. So you're absolutely right. You don't want to. You can also, if you are really worried, you can go into the LLM and ask it not to use your data for AI training purposes. It Now listen, am I under the impression that's not collecting the data? It is, but AIs, these user agreements are going to be very important right now. If I say I'm not training it, it's just one little mark that it's one little setting that will actually help me feel a little bit better. But a lot of times I just strip the name out of it. If they give me a PDF, I can simply print it, I can black it out and just black out any private information. And, I pay for mine so it can scan it. Anyway, I won't get into the minutia of it, but it's helpful. And you can even provide some of the language for your emails. So this way, it's like I have a student that did this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. It's writing it out, but I didn't give any identifying information. So it's a great Megan. It's a great point. So that's why I mentioned with the seating charts is that add the name but don't add the last name. So it's not there's a Rachel in a lot of classes. There might be a Ryan in a class. It's not identification to where they can pull that out of the data and somehow um, you know be a privacy issue. So definitely it's helpful for streamlining email. So here is the prompt I entered, and here is the output that was created. So I'm writing an email to a student that missed class because he overslept and missed an important presentation for a project. I have drafted a letter. Please improve. I want the tone to be empathetic but firm in my displeasure in him missing the class. Thank you for reaching out to me. Not waking up is not a professional excuse. Your group had to present without you. Since you reached out to me well after the end of our Monday class, I'm not excusing your absence. Blah, blah, blah. So I gave it a lot of feedback, and it produced a very good output that I was able to kind of adjust a little bit, add the name, and it went through. So that's what I ended up doing now. It took a very sensitive situation, and it probably saved me a little bit of time. It probably created a better output since I'm a busy person. I was able to take that and it sounded, just as good as I could do it in probably like a third of the time. And I didn't give the LLM the student's name. So again, trying to find ways to safely take back some of your time. So rewrite a message for an audience. Again, maybe you have like a student ad or something like that, but you want to create it for a parent memo or like a email blast that's going to go out to parents. It will change the role. It'll change the audience pretty quickly and say, hey, here's this information about this activity or something like that. I want to introduce like the author's tea. I want to invite parents. Please, adjust the audience level, and it will do that. It'll actually adjust it, sound much more cordial, respectful of parents and their role, and their maturity level and stuff and so forth, rather than it's not going to write it as if it's writing it to a second grader. Okay. They're great for creating newsletters. If you want to take a bunch of random tasks, random things, and you want to create your own classroom newsletter, you could ask it, hey, here's a bunch of my notes and stuff like that. Make this into a really nice newsletter for parents and for students, or whatever. You can have it create a newsletter. There's prompts that'll go out and scrub the internet too if you want to find good internet resources for them. You can create them and actually produce a really nice newsletter. So it's like, kind of outsourcing creating a cool newsletter. And of course, I'm looking and I'm always making sure that this is helpful and useful and stuff. Okay, now going into practice. So now think of a complex task you must perform in the near future, and let's work on refining our prompt engineering to get the outputs we need. So I want to start with this. I don't call it the perfect prompt formula anymore. I call it more the professional prompt formula. So prompts have a formula. If you put it into Gemini or ChatGPT, it will help you focus and better align your expectations to the output that happens. So remember this: role plus task plus context plus format plus constraints plus tone plus examples. Now, you don't have to use every single one of these, but if you use a lot of these in unison, you end up creating much more highly effective output. So, a highly effective prompt for ChatGPT or other large language model follows a structured formula that enhances clarity, precision, and creativity in responses. So, here's this formula. So, make sure you have it. And again, if you downloaded my resource, it will be in there. If not, I'll have it on the last slide again. But the first is role. Assign a role to the AI, and it shapes its responses by defining its expertise, its knowledge level, and its perspectives. By doing this, you guide the intelligent agent to respond as if it were a subject matter expert, a creative thinker, a technical specialist, or even a specific persona related and relevant to your needs. So here's a couple examples of role-based prompts. Like if you're going to do a general AI assistant, a base, just say, and that's kind of like a default. A basic explanation with a general overview. Explain prompt engineering to a beginner. Okay, so it's just going to it's going to treat it like an AI assistant. Now, expert role, a structured, research-backed explanation tailored for educators. You are an AI specialist in instructional design and planning. Explain prompt engineering to university faculty. You could do creative role, a more vivid storytelling rewrite. So you are a creative writing coach. Rewrite this paragraph to make it more engaging. So there's a lot of ways role in your prompt can actually help you to create and target and it helps it takes on a persona. It actually helps it will respond as if it was that persona. Okay, I just used it to help me create a felt board activity for my upcoming story spotlight. Shannon, absolutely. Absolutely, it does help. It does help. And there's a lot of other ones. So let me keep going. So here's some additional roles to use in different situation contexts. So the analytical observer, the creative problem solving, the collaborative leader, the inquisitive explorer, the empathic counselor. That might be useful if you are writing a very sensitive situation that's going on in school when it comes to maybe two students that aren't getting along in the class. You have to write home to both of the parents. A long-term strategist. Talk about long-term planning. If you're doing that for curriculum writing or kind of organizing your unit, the risk-taking visionary. Maybe we shouldn't use that for schools. The practical realist. Maybe that we should use that for schools and teachers. So again, and each of these roles will be a little different. So the analytical observer is going to rely on data and patterns and thorough analysis. But, for instance, if you have a collaborative leader, it prioritizes teamwork and values diverse perspectives. Sometimes these different roles and context really help to clarify what you want in your output. Okay. So the next thing is the task. This is where you define what you want the AI to do. So try not to be vague. Try to be specific in what your expectation is. Okay. So a weak one might be tell me about prompt engineering. A strong one is explain prompt engineering for university faculty, focusing on how it improves outputs. Okay. A weak one would be fix my writing. A strong one would be edit this paragraph to make it more engaging and concise while maintaining an academic tone. You could also say, hey, take on, for instead of fix my writing, you could say, take on the role of an academic writing coach. Give me suggestions on how to improve my writing. Now that's the ticket because I didn't ask the AI to do it for me. I asked it to give me suggestions on how to improve my work, which I think is much more ethical and moral because now I'm using it as a as an assistant to guide me. And I think it's a little bit more on ethical sound ground because we've been using Grammarly for years to just change my spelling or fix my error. It does that kind of the same way. It's not stealing it's making my words sound better. It's not stealing the cognitive workload. Make it shorter. Instead, you tell it exactly how long you want it to be. 500 words to a 100-word executive summary. Okay. There's also context. So context provides essential background information that helps AI generate more precise and relevant responses. So again, who's the audience? Who are you writing this to? Students, parents, an administrator that just watched you do a lesson observation? Okay. Purpose, what do you need this for? Is it a lesson plan? Is it a workshop? Is it research? Is it a highly effective instructional resource? You have to think about it. Scope, are there any specific topics and focus areas? Where will you use this in the in a classroom? Will you use this for a workshop? Will you use this for PTA night? Whatever. You got to try and be specific. And constraints, are there word limits? Are there formatting needs? Do you want it to write in a narrative or do you want it to do like bullet points? This helps with how it creates an output. So here's an example. I'm just going to do one. Summarize this article's week. Strong, give it more detail. Summarize this article in 200 words, keeping key arguments intact and presenting it in an easy to understand format for non-technical educators. So context is king. Format, again, structuring responses for clarity and usability. Be specific in how you want the output to come out. Do you want lists? Do you want step-by-step guides? Do you want tables, bullet points, paragraphs? Do you want a template? Do you want pros and cons? Do you want if you have a paid version, do you want like a document? Or do you just want to outline instead? Do you want to just brainstorm with it? So come up with the expected format. So again, tell me about AI in education as a weak prompt. However, if you say summarize 3 key benefits of AI in education as a bullet list, each with a 1 sentence explanation, it's very specific. It gets down exactly to what I want. And again, more tips for structuring your AI outputs. Be clear about the desired format. Use specific words. Combine with other elements if you want to. Remember, it's iteration. So you try it once, it might not be perfect. Try it again. Try it a third time until you get what you want. Iterative design is fantastic. We've been using it for years in programming. We're going to keep on doing it in problem solving. Learning is a process, just like all those constraints. Give it rules. It's kind of weird. I'm a big video game professor, and one of the things that makes a game really powerful are the constraints and the rules we we put in games. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of like an inverse relationship. Putting constraints in actually helps to improve it and helps you to target exactly what you want. So give it constraints. Tell you exactly how many words you want, how many paragraphs you want, what again, what do you want? What don't you want? The constraints help a lot. And then also tone. Set the tone. The way will write to a student is going to be different than the way I would write to a parent or to an administrator. Or the way I would do an academic journal would be different than the way I would provide and create instructional resources for my students. So you want to make sure to give it a tone. In an email, I want to be professional and I want to be professional and maybe empathetic. I want to be engaging and persuasive if I'm kind of creating a advertisement. I want to be formal and technical if I'm creating a how-to guide. I want to be humorous and playful if I'm creating like a keynote or something like that that I need to draw and inspire people. Concise and direct if I'm giving student directions. Inspiring and motivational again if I really want to do like a TED Talk or something. And again, so I don't have a great deal of time, but here is one that kind of shows you an example. And you can, by all means, I have about 15 minutes left. We can do this one right now. So what I want you to do is create a prompt for an output you will need in the future. Now, I give you an example that you can absolutely use if you'd like, but you don't have to. Um, I want you to try and do the perfect prompt formula, or what I call now the professional prompt formula. Come up with a task. What is the role? What is the task? What's the um, what's the context? What's the format? What are some constraints? You may not have an example handy, but again, if you don't have every single aspect of this, it would be, it's not the end of the world. If you have most of these, I bet you it will create a better prompt for you. So what I'd like you to do right now is this. I'm gonna stop talking right now. See if you can go ahead and type in a I'm going to I'm going to quiet down right now, let you all try a prompt and let me know what you think. I'll give you, let's see, what time is it? About quarter two. Let me give you about 3 or 4 minutes. I know it's not a long time, but I do want to make sure to respect your time.
Ryan, and when we come back, we also had a question in the chat
Yeah,
from
I'm
Jen.
actually reading them right now
Perfect.
while working. Yep.
Thank you. And
Um,
Amy. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm not trying to I am kind of trying to multitask, sorry.
Nope.
Ben said, are you worried about near ubiquitous AI usage penalizing folks who aren't using it? I mean, yeah, it's definitely a philosophical situation. It's access is important. We have tools that now they you can use tools for free. You can pay for them. I do appreciate how the AI companies are trying to give you more access to these tools for free. But then again, what's the thing when we have something free, we usually try and, lock it down somehow. So it is the democratization of tools, but you must also be careful in how it's used. Um, and again, it's all about the education, the human in the loop. But Jen, yeah, absolutely. Do you have a preference on what AI tool you use? So Amy, I use ChatGPT, the paid version. I have used Gemini. In fact, sometimes I use Gemini if I'm mad at ChatGPT that day. Sometimes Gemini works better in a pinch. I've used Copilot. I like Copilot too, but I find right now for all the general work I have to do is ChatGPT is like works well. I've tried Claude, I've tried Pi, which is supposed to be like the most emotionally intelligent one. It's very empathic, or it tries to act like it's empathic. So as you type your prompt and hit the submit button, let me know what it generates. Does it provide you with something that's useful for you? Do you feel like the output may have been better if you follow this, following the formula, or just creating a prompt that might be helpful? Let me know which one you think will help you. Let's take about 2 to 3 more minutes. I'm sorry, I just want to give you your time to work, but I also want to be respectful of your time. So used to pay for Jen because of limitations. Yeah, Becca, it's preference right now. People are definitely going back and forth about what tool to use. I just tend to use ChatGPT. Christina asked me, about checkers for they they're not reliable. They give a lot of false negatives and a lot of false positives. So if by some chance you find them, you shouldn't um, deal only with that as your evidence. You should look for other ways because they're not. In fact, Turn It In, if anybody doesn't know, Turn It In is the was a big service that in fact a lot of schools and universities still use it for monitoring plagiarism. They had an AI detector built into it, and I think it lasted 6 months, and then they took it out because it was terribly unreliable. Yeah, Christina, I actually tested it. So I took one of my gaming book manuscripts that I wrote in 2014 to test it out, and it came back stating that I had used it gave me like a 20 some percent probability that I used AI for it. I never used AI at all because it was before LLMs existed. I wrote it in 2014 for goodness sakes. Sorting activity for sorting common sight words. Absolutely. Shannon, I mean, as wonderful as our advisors are and educators and our instructors are, having somebody, if you're working on lesson plans at 8:30 at night, it's helpful to have an assistant that'll help you to develop ideas and strategies for teaching your students. Okay. So, how did the prompt go? Did you like the prompt formula? I'm hoping it was able to produce something nice for you. At the very end of this presentation, I'll make sure to show the QR. As Frank said, not well. Oh well, you know what? Uh, I guess you'll have to fire me. It really does kind of come up with it. Sometimes it's just making sure it's all in the prompt, or making sure maybe making it simpler. It's not always the perfect, but you know what? Sometimes it doesn't work. So I'll admit if it's wrong, sorry. Some ways that I can use, again, I could use to kind of save some time. Yeah, Betty said she uses ChatGPT and sometimes Copilot. Yep. Yeah, it's oh, now I'm starting to see some more people that are coming. Yeah. Yeah, actually worked well, created a T chart for me. Yeah, it helps them with charts a lot too. So here are some things that I would suggest, especially if you're going now, it's an art, it's almost an art in creating and crafting the best writing objective. You could get it to help you to write better learning objectives. And again, uh, when you write out an objective, it's there's a formula called ABCD. It was from Ralph Tyler. He was a professor, I think, from the University of Chicago. He's kind of like the one of the fathers of curriculum and assessment. He came up with learning objectives. So there's a specific part. So a poor learning objective would be students will understand the story. There's nothing there. There's nothing substantive. Um, But if you, hey, let me do the ABCD example. So, given a short story, which is a condition, the students, which is the audience, will identify the main idea and two supporting details, which is the behavior, with 80% accuracy. That's the degree. So you have A, B, C, D. Okay. Write that for NTPA. I'm sure they'd be a lot happier with you. Um, oh, good. I'm glad Yvette said the formula helped with a learning example. Good, good. I'm glad I was able to assist you. Um, Create simple learning playlists and modules. So let's say, for instance, you're starting a unit on sharks. Like actually have it go and fetch and find some resources for you. It's a little better than Google because it'll curate things. Now, be specific. And again, you're going to have to test and go through these links because sometimes it hallucinates, sometimes it makes stuff up. And I find that it's pretty good now with creating links that are useful. I also find that if you have it create a document, if you have a paid version and it creates a document, download it right away. I find that it doesn't save it for very long, so make sure you save it. Yep, and thank you very much. Yes, I agree, Molly. Thank you for the contributions and the hands-on and hands-on experience. So create a learning playlist or a module for like a learning activity. It's easy because you have the AI tool, the chatbot, go out and find the resources for you. And here's like a something quickly I created for the Shark module. It's just, and again, it outlined it. Now, is this going to be something that I'm going to submit to my mentor teacher or to chat? Was it to EdTPA? No, it's not. But it's helpful to kind of spitball some ideas and come up with something useful. Um, Professional growth, as you start to become, in your own classroom, your own education, you're starting to worry about, hey, do I have, I'm starting to suspect some people are using AI unethically or they're using it without permission. What you can do is instead of trying to become like the AI police, you can try and provide them with guidance on when and how to use AI. So starting off with level 5 would be full AI. That means you know what you want students to use AI and use it for a task or create or do something using AI completely. Level 4 would be AI task completion and human evaluation. You have it completed, but you are ultimately the human in the loop. You evaluate if it's good or bad or if you need to change it. There's also level 3, which is AI assisted editing. Like you start to write it or it brainstorm or outlines it for you. You have AI that might assist you in editing the content, changing it and improving it. So the human steps in, they're ultimately responsible. You can have level 2, which is AI assisted ideas generation and structuring. It's just this is where you kind of like do your research as if you're Googling it or if you're doing Wikipedia or something like that. It's kind of like the starting stages of research and just getting to know a topic. You may get it to help you. Or if you're saying, you know what, no way, no AI for this task, be clear and say this is a level 1. There is no AI. This is your brain only doing the thinking. AI is no way, shape, or form involved with this project. So giving them guidance, and again, this is not mine. I took this and adapted it, but this is from the literature. These are, educational researchers figuring out what's the best way to, rather than forbid AI, how can we start to integrate AI ethically and morally and give students guidance on how they're able to use it. So I don't have quite time for the hands-on part, but um, so remember, just be responsible for the outcome. So if you create something, please do me a favor and make sure you read over it. Don't just copy and paste it. Okay. In August of 2022, a peer-reviewed journal it published a study on e-commerce and fossil fuels, and it ended up finding in the actual body of the thing, it said, please note that as an AI language model, I am unable to generate specific tables or conduct tests. So it is actually in a peer-reviewed journal article. That means that somebody had created it. They had put it up there as their own work, and then it went through the peer-reviewed process. So people were supposed to have read this, and they still missed this line, this tell. So this is where I would say that, you know what, this is clear indication that they used generative AI. So I would then give them grief. So make sure that whatever you create, make sure you check absolutely every word, every link, everything that it produces because it's it's acting as your own, so you need to be responsible for it. Treat inputs like a conversation. Don't that's how I find that it's doing the prompt engineering. It's kind of doing the story, but try to be conversational because it becomes iteration. It's don't be afraid to call out its mistakes and laziness too. I find sometimes it's just lazy. It starts not to follow directions. And of course, beware and be aware. Now that I'm not trying to argue the moral and ethical ramifications of using AI in our productivity and our professional needs, but you must be aware and critical of what it produces and what you distribute. Most of us are now overly busy and moderately distracted in the age of infowhelm. When we send content to students, parents, and publish to the digital landscape, it is connected to our name and our reputation. So make sure to review what is produced, verify the sources, practice information fluency. Okay. So, to be an effective teacher in the age of AI, we must first become learners ourselves, curious, courageous, and committed to the same 21st century skills we ask our students to be critical. And that's critical thinking, collaboration, communication, creativity, and now AI fluency. Okay. But those skills are not enough on their own. We must be guides, human guides, who help students navigate a world increasingly shaped by algorithms, prompts, and predictive models. We must bring wisdom to their whirlwind. Okay. Let's be clear AI will never replace a passionate teacher. But teachers who use AI will replace those who don't. Because no app, no chatbot, no digital tool, no matter how advanced, can replicate the magic that happens when a student is seen, heard, and inspired by a real human being. So, yes, let's bring in the tools AI for personalized feedback, for generating ideas, for visualizing the impossible. Let's give students superpower. But let's never forget that the killer app in education has always been and always will be a great teacher who is motivating, who models, who makes meaning, a teacher who understands Bloom's taxonomy and Bandura, Gardner, Goldman, Papert, Piaget, and now prompt engineering and ChatGPT. A teacher who respects how students learn at different paces in different ways and who honors both traditional wisdom and digital fluency. Okay. The world has changed dramatically in the last 2 decades. COVID-19 showed us the fragility of old systems. The rise of generative AI and large language models is showing us the urgency of adaptation. In the same way we've asked students to respect and engage with our world, we must now lean into theirs with empathy, humility, and hope. Okay? We ignore their digital reality at our peril. Okay? We need what we need is not resistance but balance between rigor and relevance, between past and future, between human and machine, between tradition and transformation. Okay, so change is hard, but the kids are worth it, and so are we. So I want to take this opportunity. I'd like to thank you for being a part of this presentation. I've just started. In an hour, I'm not going to be able to have you to be AI fluent educators, but I can get you to start to see the way. So there's my contact information. You can also email me. You have contact things to email. There is the I created kind of like an executive summary of this presentation that you can take and use and extract and do what you need to do. So you are more than welcome to use that. If you have any questions, you are more than you're more than welcome to reach out to me or Molly. And I will make sure that this recording is shared with you in the near future.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. And as